The world's gone crazy, nothing makes sense. Chips costing bucks a bag, you can't pay your rent. The border's wide open, white people are bad. Trying to teach your kids. Well, guys, we left off a thrilling climate change story on them burning Dutch farms and not going after Monsanto. And Dave, you had some good input from me a couple of weeks ago when you and I talked about this subject about Monsanto and how they're not going after Monsanto and they're going after small farmers. Let's start there. Let's talk a little bit about what the priorities are, and then we'll get into maybe what these knuckleheads should be doing.
Why do they hate short people?
Why do they hate short people?
You said small farmers.
Right. Oh, yeah. Not that. I know a little German. Lives down the street. His name is Hans.
Hans?
Yeah.
Heidi. Sorry. I digress a lot. So one of the things we talked about in the last episode was genetically engineered food. I want to know what your guys' opinion is of this stuff. I mean, what about the bugs, the grasshoppers, grasshopper burgers, all that stuff? What do you guys think about all that?
So first and foremost in my family, and you guys know me for a long time, we've been organic forever.
Oh, yeah.
Forever. You know, so going back to Bird, remember when I lived on Bird in Birmingham, we had a guy's
Birdhouse
one night. And Dave, you brought a buddy over that I didn't know. He goes, this guy's got to be gay, right? I mean, he cannot have this clean and normal of a house. And you gave him a different answer. Don't say that answer right now. But anyway, don't say that answer. Don't.
You got it.
But my pantry was unbelievably clean and organized and completely organic. And here I am all these years later, and Laura and I, kids, listen, my kids aren't eating food with dyes in it. I mean, if it's not legal elsewhere in the world, but it's only legal in the United States and countries, we're not eating it. So it's a big deal to us before all this craziness kicks in, yet alone with the new craziness.
I have an app suggestion for you guys. Have you seen Yucca? The app Yucca?
No. I know the Yucca plant, but I've never heard of Yucca the app.
YUCCA?
I think it's let me look it up here. I think it's YUKA. Yeah, it's YUKA.
Okay. YUKA.
It's an app that will tell you by
there you go.
You scan the barcode.
Oh,
and
cool.
it tells you what how healthy something is. So
scans foods and cosmetic products in order to know their impact on your health. Interesting.
So you're at the store and you want to buy some soap. Your wife tells you I need some soap.
In your case, it would be hand lotion. But go ahead.
And you scan the Berry Balance method body soap, and it's 4 out of 100.
Huh.
Dave, you look like you're at the front row of a Taylor Swift concert when you were holding up that thing.
Oh God!
Because
you Swiftie.
It has methylchlorozole. Anyway,
that's
can't pronounce it. Don't use it.
It's got all the bad stuff in it, and then native soap has it's 100 out of 100 because there's nothing bad in it.
Yeah.
So as you go through the grocery store, it's a really good way of being able to scan stuff and figure out. Listen, I don't want to put that stuff in my body.
So listeners, Yucca, by the way, the website's up, thetwistedtimes.com. The website is up. Nice. It's not good yet. It'll be. We struggled with getting the domain where we needed it to be. It'll be good in about 3 or 4 days. But you'll be able to hit the episodes from there and such. But stuff like the biggest thing the listeners want from us are the sources that we list during the episode. So basically the biggest request so far in coming across phone, text messages and emails is
good show notes.
All the books that we throw out. So we're doing a couple things. We're doing one, the website's going to have that. And so Dave's website for Yucca right there will go up on the website. But we're also, with Riverside as our new app, we're also going to have transcripts and videos posted that will have subtitles up. And you'll be able to watch clips with subtitles, and the subtitles will show you what we're talking about. And hopefully that'll remind you of names to remember, sites to remember, apps to remember, and such. So awesome, I'll be using Yucca in the morning.
21st century, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, so, Steve, do you think blue zones have to worry about apps like Yucca?
Yeah, well, I don't think most people go back to that bar again and grab 10 people. I don't think most people know about blue zones, Dan. They have no idea what blue zones are.
You got me going down a rabbit hole on those, and I was surprised to see the blue zones in the portions of the planet where they were. The first one you mentioned was Okinawa. I think it was Japan is a huge blue zone.
Japan's got
Then
two blue zones. Yeah.
Okay, then there was one in Italy.
Italy.
I want to say it was Sardinia, but I'm not sure. Costa Rica was the one that surprised me. Is a blue zone, but you got me going down that rabbit hole. I'm like, what a great way to live. And it truly, if you look at the statistics, the Alzheimer's, the common health ailments, the longevity and how long these people live, it's just a better way to live. And why don't we have more blue zones? But then you get into politics and money in this conversation you guys are having.
Yeah, and for the listeners who don't know what a blue zone is, there's a great book. I think the original book was called The Blue Zones. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was called The Blue Zones. And there's a million things since then, the Blue Zone cookbook, the Blue Zone this, the Blue Zone that. But blue zones essentially are places in the world where disease exists at a far lesser rate than the rest of them. There's parts of Japan that have never gotten breast cancer. There's parts of Japan that haven't gotten this, that, or the other. And almost universally, the reasons that they live so healthy and long there are
diet and exercise.
They have a different food supply chain, and they have environmental concerns that aren't what we have in the United States. And I think in the United States side, we're just so skewed, right? We have always been the Wild West. The fact that somehow people think today that we're more rough and tumble than we used to be don't understand the history of the country. We were the most rough and tumble country in the history of the world, you could argue, as we got going, as we fought for space. So we've never been environmentally sound. Never, ever. No. We've never really thought
pedal
of it
to the metal.
Yeah, always. Exactly. That's the best way to put it.
Always
pedal to the metal. Grow at all costs. Capitalism at all costs. And we have a great lifestyle externally because we went that way. But man, when you travel through Italy and you go through the shit zones, and there's a lot of them, to get to the small towns where they're incredibly kind and old-fashioned to this day, man, they grow their own food. They're organic without the organic tag. A lot of them.
The thing that stood out to me, Steve, was, and that's what got me into it, was the way that they eat and things that we could mimic here easily, but harder to mimic here, like in the pedal to the metal attitude that we got here, Mopar, go, 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 we'll figure out how to fix it later on type of attitude, were the, and the things that I read were sense of purpose, stress reduction, and community. They were all like, they focused on helping each other out. And like, how do you breed that? How do you supplant that somewhere else and make that happen? Yeah, you can eat good and you can, but how do you produce that?
So I love those. So let's talk about those. Let's talk about all three of those. So the first one was sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, having a clear sense of purpose, a reason for being, things that motivate them in their daily lives.
Let's talk about that. So do you think most people today in America, let's talk about America for a second. Do you think we have a grounded sense of purpose, most people?
Grounded sense of purpose for the circles of people I know. I don't know if at large nationally. My optimist wants to say yes, but honestly, I don't think it's as good as it is in some other countries. Honestly,
we have cell phones
individually.
I'm going to challenge you on. Okay, I'm going to say that your circle is mostly hard charging cybersecurity people that are on airplanes all day. Yeah. And if you're not on airplanes all day, they're running the infrastructures for some of America's biggest companies.
Yeah.
True or false?
True. Those are my people. Yeah.
Or out having fun with people that they care about.
Yeah, they work hard, play hard. Yeah, but those you described them.
But let's bring it back to sense of purpose, right? So so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the fact that I did it for a long time, that you're out there on airplanes, entertaining till 2:00 in the morning, waking up and going and doing it the next morning again, over and over again. But sense of purpose is different. Sense of purpose is what makes you feel like a man, in our case, men, what makes us feel complete, what makes us feel like waking up and driving to the next day. And that's most certainly for me, it evolved to be not a job. It wasn't going to be whether I win the next deal. Most of my sense of purpose comes from my kids and my wife. And that's an evolution for me. But even before it became those things, it was communal forever. Remember, ACLU card at 20, all fucked up and disorganized and thinking I knew what I wanted, but always trying to fix the world. Always. There's never been one part of my life where I wasn't trying to fix the world. I just didn't know how to do it, right? So you're always trying to fix the world. So your sense of purpose is that. But when you go to those blue zones, tying it back to the blue zones, their sense of purpose is very, very, very simple over and over again. And I've seen it in Italy in particular. And the town we're looking at in Switzerland, where we hope we're there in January, is got the second highest life expectancy rate in all of Europe. That little region. And I think that rate is something you should Google, because if they've got a very high life expectancy rate, that should be a place you should want to ask questions about and say, are they following the WHO standards of eating grasshoppers and Impossible burgers? I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
You know what they're doing?
Non-processed food.
Plant-based diets, minimally processed foods.
Plant-based diet for me, Dan, doesn't really work for me. But I understand why you're saying it, because the cardiologist I know super well in my life, he would say the same thing as you. But Dave, I think you said the magic words. You opened up with non-processed food, right?
Yep.
Again,
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Minimal amounts of hormones. No hormones.
Yeah.
No vaccinated cows. No microplastics in their food supply.
No antibiotics in their meats.
No antibiotics in their meats. Yeah. If you can,
I learn a lot every single day from Joe Rogan. I could care less what people think about that statement or who he is, but Rogan's smart on a lot of stuff, and I think he is super open-minded to. He's like, I think we're alike in the sense where if you told me a fact, I would change my lifelong perception of that fact on that spot if you made a great point. And I think Rogan's that same way. Rogan won't drink out of a plastic bottle or a plastic cup. He's learned what plastics do, so he doesn't drink out of them. He's glass for everything. Glass for everything.
Microplastics and nanoparticles are both terrifying.
They're the real deal. They're the real deal. And so go to the small villages in Italy. You will find, man, guess what? They drink wine just like I'm drinking wine right now out of a small table glass. It's how they drink. It's how they drink it. They don't want it in anything else. And I think, again, but go back to America and think about what you said. But I'm tying your first and your third points together, Dan. Your first point was having a sense of purpose, and your third point was community, right?
Yeah.
Community. I think they go together. I think for most people, you can find sense of purpose in your community. And if you put your family first, if your family's the first part of that community, and then your closest friends in the next part of your community, and so on, you will build this great life. Laura and I love our life in Franklin, Tennessee. We love our neighborhood. We love our neighbors. We're so close with so many people here, and we do so much stuff with them all. But guess what? We're all still American. So we struggle to think about what a blue zone might look like. But blue zones don't look like my neighborhood. They don't look like the Truman Show of the Stepford Wives. Blue zones look like the farm. The way you get your food is because you've set up a communal agreement where 10 streets over is an actual farm. We're starting to build these agri-hoods right now in the more yuppie-like neighborhoods. We have a big one going across from us. And that agri-hood's going to have a farm built into the middle of it, and people are going to get their vegetables from there.
That's great.
But we're 1,000 years behind, the European countries that still have farms in their neighborhood where you want to get there. We're not there yet, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the one United States blue zone is?
We have a blue zone? No, I did not know that.
I don't know that.
Loma Linda, California. Look up Loma Linda, California as a blue zone.
It's not Flint. It's not Flint.
It's Flint, Flint, Michigan.
Oh Lord, that's a black zone. That's a blacked out zone. That's horrible.
Where is that?
So Loma Linda, California. Loma Linda, California is actually just outside LA. So oddest of places for there to be a blue zone.
Wow.
It happens to be a Seventh Day Adventist community.
Huh.
And many of the people have active lifestyles. They're involved in a church, actively involved in a church where they do something. They do music. They do outreach. They do whatever. They exercise with their friends and family, and they eat healthfully. They do things in moderation. And anyway, I think it's really interesting that Loma Linda is the only blue zone in the United States.
Interesting.
So Dave, you are a Seventh Day Adventist.
Yes.
Go back a long ways, and we'll have more religious talks. We've had religious talks. This is not going to be one of those. And you gave me a book a long time ago that I still have to this very day. Just found it as I was going through all of my multiple moves books. but it was basically Seventh Day Adventist cookbook. It was a book on the way you eat, and so it was. I'm paraphrasing, but for me, it was mostly a vegetarian book, right? It was eating a lot of vegetables and such, and it was eating healthy from a church that's built this as their credo decades, if not centuries, before other people were doing the same thing. So
mid 1800s, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the church's take on what was your church's take on all this? Have the real devout followers been following that kind of diet, the blue zone informal diet forever?
They have. There's a much lower risk of heart disease and cancer in the Adventist community than outside of it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still a bunch of Seventh Day Adventists that are fat and lazy and don't eat right and do things
There's
like
Japanese that are fat and lazy, but most of them aren't.
Yeah. Thanks to Western culture.
You'll see if people are following the tenets of and it's very similar to Levitical law in the Old Testament, which is interesting. But if people are following those tenets, they have less cancer, they have less heart disease, less cirrhosis of the liver, all those pieces, and it's astonishing to me that year after year, it's just a healthier organization. Now, part of that is because of the way that they encourage community outreach and integration. My son works for a summer camp where they have a lot of activities that are high adventure and exercise and things like that. So yeah, it's just interesting that you said community, you said family. Those are things that I was raised with, and I certainly have not always followed those things, but when I have, I'm much healthier.
Well, Dan's second thing was finding a way to be stressed.
That's the big one for me personally. That's a big one.
They're all three completely connected.
For sure.
And so I think because of Steve Martin, I found my special purpose. All right.
The phone books are here.
More people have seen this than the phone book. Right.
He hates these cans.
He hates these cans. But I feel like purpose and finding a stress-free way to live and tie to community, they're completely connected. I mean,
for sure.
Anytime you see anybody as you get older, like, listen, you have to reduce your stress. I'm like, well, I know that, fucker. I know I got to reduce my stress. What you haven't told me is how I turn the switch off. I'm raising a 7-year-old son right now that he knows when we play Super Mega Baseball 3 on the Xbox. He knows I'll never, ever, ever let up on him, ever. It'll never happen. So he knows when we played today and I took a 10-3 lead, and he decided with the next time he was pitching to hit me 3 times in a row in the head. Straight pitches, to walk the bases loaded. He knew I was going to take the Xbox away. He knew it. I go one more time. Do it one more time.
I dare you.
He looks at me.
So did you do it?
Slugger McGillicuddy comes up to the plate for my Jacks team against his Tupper team. Sure as shit, he looks at me. He thinks about it. Fucking
lets it fly
in the head with another fastball. He throws a fastball in the head.
He's your child.
I reach in. I unplug the Xbox. He screams and cries, and I'm stressed. He's stressed. I'm like, Gio. He's like, Dad. Kind of, sort of. So how do I pull that out of my Italian our blood?
Embrace it, brother. He's your.
Lean into it.
He is your child, sunshine.
Yeah.
that is fantastic.
That apple
I'm so glad you told me that story.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We want to reduce the stress across the board. We all want to. Again, I talked to like Jeff Lanfear and I were talking about just being healthier, man. How do you get to be? We're talking about Mimo's Farm last year about being healthier. How do we do it? And how do we sustain it? We're raising kids, and you blink, you have kids, and you blink, and they're older.
They're old.
And in my case, I blink, and I have them again. I'm a dad again.
That's what happened. You blinked.
And
you blinked too many times, Steve.
That's how they got. Gia wants to know right now. He goes, I understand why I look like Mom, but what I don't understand is why do everyone say I look like you? Like, what do you have to do with it? He doesn't. And I'm just not ready to talk about it. I'm just not. I'm not like, oh, your mom and I had some wine. I'm not ready to talk about it. But
Your
So
mom and I had some wine.
I am going to say to him
Yeah.
tomorrow, we
Give her a
blinked.
special hug.
We blinked.
We blinked.
We blinked a lot, and next thing you know, mom was pregnant. So
Yeah,
how
he's
are
gonna
you-
walk around like this now for the rest of his life, not blinking.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, if you don't want kids, you need to prop those eyelids open and walk around that way.
Yeah.
But tying it back to these guys, and to kids and such, and having them eat healthy. What I do right now for them is I say stuff like, look, we went to the movies today. This is what happens when you're in a part of your life where you're not working actively during the day. You've done that work for 30-something years. And so we went and saw If today. We went and saw If.
Oh.
How was that, by the way?
It's good. John, what's his name? John, the guy from The Office.
Not John. Crack.
John.
Steve
And
Carell.
Ryan Reynolds is in it.
Ryan
too.
Reynolds, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. But my kids know.
It's Emily Blunt's husband, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He wrote it and directed it. So we went and saw If. And by the way, I'm a huge movie fan. So where I give in to the liberal side is I'm not giving up going to the movies with my kids. I like it. I'm one of like 7 people that go to the AMC theater in Franklin, Tennessee. But I like to go to the movies, and I like to have the grand spectacle, the big theater. And
Absolutely.
Same. Love
but
it.
The thing is, we bring in healthy candy. We bring in
That's awesome.
non-colored organic-y candy, and we bring it in, and we get a bucket of popcorn, a small thing of popcorn, and we're not going to get a refill, and so we know that shit's not good for you. But they know if you put it on them, they want to they want to know what a blue zone is. They want to want to live in a blue zone. They want to have purpose and lack of stress and tied to the community. They want those things.
Did you get the real butter?
We never get butter. They don't want it.
Just dry white popcorn? You're an animal.
You know what their guilty shit is? Their guilty shit is getting the Slurpee thing, the icy.
Ooh.
And I won't let them get the red one or the blue one because it's got the coloring in it. So they get the Coke. They get the giant Coke that's got 17 million calories in it.
Juice them up on caffeine and sugar, huh? That's I love it.
And I just told them, I said, listen, why don't you just smoke a cigarette instead?
Yeah,
right?
be done with it. Yeah. Pop is liquid death. It's
Krasinski.
So bad.
Krasinski.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Krasinski, yeah. Thank you.
And
The thing that I'm trying to work on as I get older is, like you said, Steve, as I get older, I'm finding better ways to manage stress. But I'm finally getting into some form of meditation, and it's so easy to slip. Oh, like 3 times since we've been talking. Oh my God.
Attaboy. Hey, did you meditate last week?
A lot.
3 times a day.
There goes another explicit label. Thanks, guys.
God damn it, we just got tagged again.
I meditated last night. My wrist is sore.
Right. So you are meditating. So when
I'm
you're
getting into it. I'm not an expert. I'm just learning. I have a friend. She's getting me into it a little bit on how to do it myself. There's some apps that'll help you get into the shallow end of the pool.
Is she with you while you're meditating? Meditating nude in a sauna?
Is this tantric?
That might actually help. I should suggest that to her. Yeah.
Is this
That's what I'm
tantric
doing
yoga?
wrong.
Is it tantric? Yes. Is it tantric?
That's what I'm doing wrong.
Is she raising your kundalini?
My kundalini.
I think that's what it's called.
My kundalai.
Why?
So when you meditate,
Yeah.
when you meditate and you are going for, so Dave and I have talked on previous episodes, the fact that yogis, here's my thing to disprove so much of the other thing.
I'm
Yogis,
afraid.
No, this is true. Monks, Dave and I have talked about it. Monks in Tibet will get a bucket of cold water poured on them, go outside in sub-freezing temperatures, sit down, and the water will steam off of their backs, their heads. Yeah. They can meditate to a point where they literally dissipate the water and they don't get sick and the water disappears. So we know meditation works, right? So
mind over body.
But they've been practicing it for years and decades. So when you meditate informally, we know for a fact that the breathing alone makes you feel better, makes you feel more relaxed.
That's the first thing I started doing, and man, does it make a difference. Yeah. Huge difference.
Did you just start with 4-7-8, or are you doing something more complex?
There's an app that actually, it starts off with deep breathing exercises. In for 7, out for 8, in for 9, out for 4, and it just really, honestly, the numbers don't mean much. I found out it's really to get you focusing on one thing, breathing. That's it. Center your world, focus on one thing, in and out, and it really does help.
What app are you using?
I've been doing it wrong. There's an app you're using. What are you using, Dave?
We'll look it up.
What are you laughing about?
I just want. I don't want to know what's going to come out of your mouth next.
I've been meditating to the Benny Hill theme song. For me, and I don't get there. I just don't get there. No movement either, so it's not really worth it for me. But Dave,
Benny Hill, that was quality TV right there.
My dad said one day back in Detroit, we had an old TV upstairs where my brothers and I stayed and slept. And I came down in the morning, and my dad said, "Hey, your TV was on late last night." He goes, "What were you guys doing?" Basically that exact tone. I'm like, I don't know, but I'll tell you, we get this show on Channel 20. It is awesome. It's called Benny Hill. And my dad goes, "Oh my God, you're watching Benny Hill?" He goes, we got it at like 11 o'clock at night. We're watching him. He's always chasing titties around. There's always
Right.
some scantily clad,
Such lowbrow humor.
Scantily clad European woman, English woman. He's chasing her around. His eyebrows are up. The music's always playing like this. And he's chasing.
He's chasing her.
Your belly laugh. And my dad goes, "Don't tell your mother. Don't
tell your mother.
Don't tell your
Not
mother.
Concerned about it, except don't tell your mother."
Don't tell your mother.
The app I'm using is called Insight Timer, by the way. Insight Timer.
Got
is
it.
the one I've been using.
Cool.
So we've got a couple apps today. We got the Yucca app from Dave. Let's scan barcodes on food. And Dan's brought in the Insight Timer on how to meditate. Hopefully you've had a good time listening to us on Twisted Times. We've gone after climate change a little bit with 2 episodes in a row with our guest, Dan Gregory. Dan, we hope you come back and join us.
These are the Twisted Times. Oh, sorry.
Good to talk to you guys. See you later, man. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Peace.